The darkness of space stretched endlessly in all directions. Commander Lisa Grant stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, watching the stars drift past the view screen. It was supposed to be a routine patrol mission. Nothing exciting ever happened out here on the edge of explored space. Lieutenant Jake Morrison sat at his communications station, monitoring the usual traffic. Merchant vessels checking in, colony worlds reporting their status, the same boring signals they heard every day. He yawned and reached for his coffee. Then something changed. A new signal appeared on his screen. It was weak and broken, flickering in and out like a dying light. Jake sat up straight, his tiredness forgotten. He adjusted his controls, trying to strengthen the signal. "Commander Grant, I'm picking up something unusual," Jake said. Lisa walked over to his station. "What kind of unusual?" "It's a distress call, but the encoding is old. Really old. It's using a universal pattern from before humanity even joined the galactic community." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. Someone out there needed help badly enough to use an ancient emergency frequency. "Can you clean it up?" "I'm trying, but it's really weak." "Hold on." Jake's fingers flew across his controls. He routed the signal through the ship's main computer, boosting the power. Slowly, the static cleared. A voice came through, speaking in the common galactic language. It was desperate and tired. "This is Veltara of Aquanus Prime. We are under occupation by the Krethian Empire. They have enslaved our people. They bomb our cities from orbit. Thousands are dead, thousands more work in their mines, dying in the darkness. Please, we beg the Galactic Council to help us. We cannot fight them alone. Please, someone hear us. Please help." The message repeated over and over. Each time the voice sounded more hopeless. Lisa felt something twist in her chest. She had heard about the Galactic Council. They were the older alien civilizations who ran things in this part of space. Humanity was new to space, and the Council had told them to stay quiet and learn their place. Don't make trouble. Don't interfere in other people's problems. But this wasn't just someone else's problem. These were people crying out for help. "Jake, where is this signal coming from?"
"The Aquanus system."
"It's about 4 days away at standard speed. And who are these Valorians?" Jake pulled up information on his screen. "Aquatic species. They live underwater on their home planet. According to the database, they're peaceful. Never bothered anyone. The Krethians conquered them 30 years ago." Lisa thought about that. 30 years of slavery. 30 years of calling for help while nobody came. "Get me Captain Bishop," she said. Captain Frank Bishop arrived on the bridge a few minutes later. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had served in the Earth Federation for 25 years. He had seen a lot in that time, and not all of it was good. Lisa played the distress call for him. Bishop listened in silence. His face showed no emotion, but his hands gripped the armrest of his chair tighter and tighter. When the message finished, Bishop was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. "How long has this signal been broadcasting?" "Based on the degradation pattern, maybe 6 months," Jake answered. "They've been calling out all this time and nobody answered." Bishop closed his eyes. 6 months of hope fading day by day. 6 months of watching the stars, waiting for help that never came. "Sir, what do we do?" Lisa asked. "The Council has made it clear that we're not supposed to interfere in regional conflicts." "I know what the Council said," Bishop replied. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. "Get me a secure channel to Admiral Carter at Earth Federation Command." The call connected after a few minutes. Admiral Helen Carter appeared on the screen. She was in her office on Earth, and it was late at night there. She looked alert, though, her sharp eyes studying Bishop's face. "Frank, this better be important. Do you know what time it is here?" "Admiral, we've intercepted a distress call." Bishop played the recording for her. Carter listened without interrupting. When it finished, she sighed. "Let me guess. You want to investigate?" "Yes, ma'am. You know the political situation. The Council doesn't like it when we stick our noses into things, and the Krethians are a Council member species. If we interfere, there will be consequences." "I understand that, Admiral, but I can't ignore this. If it was humans trapped on that planet calling out for help while everyone pretended not to hear, I would want someone to come." Carter was quiet. She knew Bishop was right. But she also knew the reality of their situation. Humanity was still the new kid in galactic politics. They were supposed to be careful, diplomatic, and most of all, quiet. Finally, she spoke. "This conversation never happened. Officially, I'm not giving you any orders. But if you happened to be in the area and received a distress call, Well, investigating distress calls is standard procedure. Understood? Bishop smiled slightly. Understood, Admiral. One more thing. The Fifth Fleet under Admiral Kevin Price is conducting exercises about 2 jumps from the Aquinas system. Just thought you should know. Thank you, Admiral. The connection ended. Bishop turned to his crew. Helm, set a course for Aquinas Prime. Navigation, I want the fastest route possible. Amy Russell, the ship's navigator, worked quickly. After a moment, she looked up with concern on her face. Sir, the fastest route takes us through a Crethean patrol zone. Will they detect us? Probably not if we're careful. But if they do, we could have trouble. Bishop didn't hesitate. Set the course. Communications, send a coded message to Admiral Price. Tell him we're investigating a humanitarian crisis and may need assistance. Keep it vague. I don't want to commit him to anything. Yes, sir, Jake said. Chief Engineer Paul Henderson had been standing quietly near the back of the bridge. Now he spoke up. Captain, if we're going into a potential combat situation, I should run diagnostics on all our systems. Weapons, shields, engines, everything. Do it. I want us ready for anything. The next few hours were busy. The crew prepared the ship for whatever they might find at Aquinas Prime. Paul and his engineering team checked every system twice. The weapons officer, Carl Jensen, ran simulations on the tactical systems. The medical bay stocked up on supplies. Lisa found Captain Bishop in his ready room staring at a star chart. Sir, the crew is ready. We can jump to hyperspace whenever you give the order. Bishop nodded. Lisa, do you think we're doing the right thing? Honestly, sir, I think it's the only thing we can do. If we ignore this, if we sail away and pretend we never heard that call, what does that make us? It makes us smart, Bishop said. It makes us survivors. Humanity has only been in space for 50 years. We don't have the ships or the political power to pick fights with established empires. But we have something they don't, Lisa said quietly. What's that? We remember what it's like to need help. Earth's history is full of times when people were conquered and enslaved. We remember crying out and hoping someone would come. Maybe that's why we can't ignore this call. Because we remember. Bishop looked at her for a long moment. Then he stood up. You're right. Let's go save some people. They returned to the bridge together. The crew looked up as Bishop entered. They had all heard the distress call by now. They all knew what they were about to do. And on every face, Bishop saw the same expression. Determination. All stations report status, Bishop ordered. One by one, the crew reported in. Engines ready. Weapons ready. Shields ready. Medical bay ready. Everything was as prepared as it could be. Helm, take us into hyperspace. Destination Aquinas Prime. The helmsman's hands moved across his controls. Outside the viewscreen, space began to shimmer and distort. The stars stretched into long lines of light. Then with a flash that lit up the bridge, the horizon's edge leaped forward into hyperspace. They were committed now. In 4 days, they would reach Aquinas Prime. They would see what the Cretheans had done. And maybe, just maybe, they could make a difference. In the silence of hyperspace, the distress call still echoed in their minds. Veltara's voice, desperate and tired, begging for someone to hear, someone to care, someone to come. Bishop sat in his command chair thinking about the days ahead. He knew they might be flying into a war zone. He knew the Galactic Council would be angry. He knew this decision could cost him his career, his ship, maybe even his life. But when he closed his eyes, he saw something else. He saw the face of Veltara, though he had never met her. He imagined her looking up at the stars, hoping against hope that someone heard her call. He imagined entire cities of people underwater, living in fear, waiting for death or salvation, and he knew beyond any doubt that this was the right thing to do. The horizon's edge raced through hyperspace, carrying its crew toward an uncertain future. Behind them, Earth grew more distant. Ahead of them, Aquinas Prime waited, a world in chains calling out in the darkness. Humanity was new to the galaxy. They didn't have the biggest fleets or the strongest weapons. They didn't have the political influence of the old council races, but they had something those races had forgotten. The courage to answer when someone called for help. And sometimes that was enough. 4 days of travel through hyperspace gave the crew plenty of time to think. Lisa Grant spent hours researching everything they could find about the Valorians and the Cretheans. What she learned made her angry. The Valorians were a peaceful species. They had never developed space travel because they lived entirely underwater. Their whole civilization existed in beautiful cities beneath the oceans of Aquanus Prime. They created art, music, and poetry. They harmed no one. The Crethians were different. They were insectoids, evolved from hive creatures on their desert home world. They valued strength and conquest above all else. When they discovered that Aquanus Prime had rare minerals in its ocean trenches, they simply took the planet. The Valorians couldn't fight back. They had no weapons, no warships, no way to resist. For 30 years, the Crethians had worked the Valorians like slaves. Thousands died in the mines. Thousands more died when the Crethians bombed cities that tried to resist. Lisa felt sick reading the reports, and angrier still when she read how the Galactic Council had responded. By doing nothing. They called it an internal matter and refused to interfere. When the Horizon's Edge dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Aquanus system, the crew saw immediately that things were worse than they feared. Carl Jensen's tactical display lit up with contacts. "Sir, I'm reading 3 Crethian dreadnoughts in orbit around the planet, plus 32 smaller vessels, cruisers, destroyers, and transport ships." Bishop leaned forward in his chair. "What are they doing?" "The dreadnoughts have orbital bombardment platforms active. The smaller ships are moving between the surface and space stations. Looks like they're hauling cargo." "Stolen minerals," Lisa said quietly. "Can they see us?" Bishop asked. "Not yet. We came out behind the system's asteroid belt. We're hidden for now, but if we move closer, they'll spot us." Bishop considered their options. They were one ship against an entire occupation fleet. If they tried to fight, they would lose. But they hadn't come all this way to turn back. "Jake, can you reach the Valorians on that old frequency?" "I can try, sir. Give me a minute." Jake worked at his console, routing power to the communications array. He sent a coded signal down toward the planet, using the same pattern as the distress call. "Signal sent. Now we wait." 5 minutes passed. 10. 15. Bishop began to worry that no one would answer. Maybe the Crethians had found and killed Veltara. Maybe the resistance was already crushed. Then Jake sat up straight. "I've got a response. It's weak and scrambled, but someone's answering. Patching it through now." A face appeared on the view screen. It was like nothing the crew had ever seen. Veltara had smooth, translucent blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. Her eyes were large and dark, adapted for seeing in the deep ocean. "Fine." Gill-like structures along her neck moved slightly as she breathed. She was beautiful in an alien way and utterly exhausted. "Who are you?" Veltara's voice was rough, as if she had been crying. "This is a secure resistance frequency. If you are Crethian, if this is some trick." "We're not Crethian," Bishop said gently. "We're human. We received your distress call." Veltara stared at them. Her large eyes went even wider. "Human, I don't understand." "We were calling the Galactic Council." "How did you—" "We intercepted your message 4 days ago. We came as fast as we could, but humans are new to space." "Why would you come?" "This isn't your fight." Veltara sounded confused and underneath that, desperately hopeful. "Someone needed help," Bishop said simply. "That's enough reason." Tears began to flow from Veltara's eyes. In the water where she lived, the tears were invisible, but her expression showed everything. "We called for so long. 6 months. Every day we sent the signal. The council never answered. We thought no one cared." Lisa felt her own eyes grow wet. "We care. Tell us what's happening down there." Veltara took a breath, steadying herself. "The Crethians conquered us 30 years ago. At first they just wanted our minerals. They forced us to mine the deep trenches. The work is dangerous and many died. When we tried to resist, they destroyed 3 cities. 20,000 people killed in minutes, turned to ash by orbital strikes. The bridge crew listened in horrified silence. After that, we had no choice. We worked in their mines. We gave them our resources. We tried to survive. But 5 years ago, something changed. The Crethians became more aggressive. They increased the mining quotas. More people died. They built more weapons platforms in orbit. Any city that doesn't meet their demands gets bombed. We're not slaves anymore. We're prisoners in our own world, waiting to die." "How many of you are left?" Bishop asked. 40 million on this planet. 10 million of those are in the mines or in forced labor camps. The rest live in fear, watched by sensors and drones. If we gather in groups, they bomb us. If we refuse to work, they bomb us. We can't fight. We have no weapons. We have nothing." Veltara's voice broke. "Why didn't the council help us?" Because the Council doesn't care about justice, Lisa said, surprising herself with the anger in her voice. They care about stability and keeping the powerful empires happy. But you came, Veltara said. One ship. You must know you can't defeat the Krathian fleet. Bishop smiled slightly. We're not alone. Help is coming. But we need time. Can you keep this channel open without the Krathians detecting it? Yes. I'm broadcasting from deep underwater and I'm routing the signal through old communication nodes. They don't monitor the old systems anymore. Good. Stay hidden. Stay safe. We're going to end this occupation. How? How can one ship... Bishop was about to answer when Carl shouted from Tactical. Sir, we have a problem. Krathian patrol cruiser just came around the asteroid. They're scanning us. They know we're here. The view screen split. Half still showed Veltara's face. The other half showed a sleek, dark ship with sharp angles and weapons ports. It looked like a predator. All hands, battle stations, Bishop ordered. Alarms blared throughout the ship. Carl, can we outrun them? No, sir. They're faster. And they're charging weapons. Then we fight. Target their weapons and engines. Disable, don't destroy. I don't want to kill anyone if we don't have to. They're not giving us the same courtesy, sir. Missiles incoming. The horizon's edge lurched as the pilot threw them into evasive maneuvers. The crew grabbed their stations as the ship spun and dodged. On the view screen, Veltara watched with wide eyes. Point defense systems, fire, Carl ordered. Streams of energy shot out from the horizon's edge, intercepting the incoming missiles. Explosions bloomed in space like deadly flowers. Most of the missiles were destroyed, but 2 got through. They slammed into the shields, making the whole ship shake. Shields at 80%, Carl reported. Return fire, Bishop said calmly. The horizon's edge had weapons that were new, designed by human engineers who had studied every space battle in Earth's violent history. They fired precisely, targeting the weak points in the Krathian ship's armor. The first shot took out the cruiser's main weapon. The second crippled its engines. The third hit its communication array. In less than 20 seconds, the fight was over. The Krathian ship drifted in space, disabled but intact. Its crew was alive. Sir, the main Krathian fleet just detected the fight, Carl said. They're moving to intercept. I count 8 ships heading our way. We've got maybe 10 minutes before they arrive. Bishop turned back to the view screen to Veltara's stunned face. We need to leave. But we'll be back. Tell your people to be ready. Wait, Veltara said. You defeated a Krathian warship in seconds. How? Humans are very good at fighting, Lisa said quietly. We've had a lot of practice. The other ship's coming. You can't fight them all. We won't, Bishop said. Jake, send the signal to Admiral Price, maximum priority. Tell him we need the cavalry. Sent, sir. Veltara, stay safe. Stay hidden. And keep hope alive. Help is coming. The connection cut as the horizon's edge accelerated away from the approaching Krathian fleet. They dove into the asteroid field using the rocks for cover. On the main Krathian dreadnought, War Master Zekthor received the reports of the engagement. He studied the tactical data with interest. An unknown ship had appeared in his system, defeated one of his cruisers, and escaped. This was unusual. The council races were too weak to fight. They always talked, negotiated, and eventually gave up. They never fought. What do we know about this vessel? Zekthor asked. Nothing, War Master. The design is unfamiliar. Their weapons are crude but effective. And they move strangely without predictable patterns. Zekthor felt something he hadn't felt in years. Curiosity. Find them. Capture them if possible. I want to know who would be foolish enough to interfere in Krathian affairs. Yes, War Master. As his ship spread out to search the asteroid field, Zekthor allowed himself a small smile. This would be entertaining. Whoever these newcomers were, they had no idea what they had started. The Krathian Empire did not tolerate interference. These strangers would learn that lesson, and their ship would make an excellent trophy. Deep in the asteroid field, the horizon's edge waited. Bishop sat in his command chair watching the tactical display as Krathian ships searched for them. How long until Price can get here? He asked. His last known position was 2 jumps away, Jake said. If he got our message and left immediately, maybe 2 hours. Then we survived for 2 hours. Bishop looked at his crew. They looked. The horizon's edge drifted silently among the asteroids. On the bridge, everyone was tense. They could see the Krathian ships on their sensors searching for them. 8 warships combed through the asteroid field in a careful pattern. They're getting closer, Carl whispered, as if the enemy might hear him. Bishop kept his voice calm. Stay quiet. Minimal power. We're just another rock floating in space. Minutes crawled by like hours. A Crethian destroyer passed within a kilometer of their position. The crew held their breath, but the enemy ship moved on without detecting them. Lisa checked the chronometer. 1 hour and 45 minutes since they sent the message to Admiral Price. 15 more minutes had passed. Still no sign of the Fifth Fleet. Then Jake's console blinked. He looked at it, then at Bishop. His eyes were wide with relief. "Sir, I'm getting a coded signal." "It's Admiral Price," he says, "on our way. Hold position." 10 minutes. Bishop felt the tension in his shoulders ease slightly. Acknowledged. "Everyone stay sharp. Just 10 more minutes." But War Master Zekthor was not stupid. He had been watching his ship search the asteroid field, and he saw a pattern. There was one area where his vessels seemed to lose sensor contact, where their scans became confused. It was subtle, but it was there. "Focus all ships on Sector 7, he ordered. "Whatever is hiding there, I want it found and destroyed." All 8 Crethian ships changed course, converging on the horizon's edge's position. "Sir, they've found us," Carl said urgently. "All enemy ships are heading this way. They'll have us surrounded in 3 minutes." Bishop made a decision. "Helm, get us out of here." "Full speed. Head for open space." The horizon's edge's engines flared to life. The ship shot out from behind its asteroid cover, accelerating hard. Behind them, the Crethian ships gave chase. "They're firing," Carl announced. Missiles and energy beams lit up space. The pilot twisted and turned, dodging what he could. The point defense system shot down missiles, but there were too many enemies, too many weapons. "Shields at 60%, Carl said. "Another hit." 40%. "Where's Price?" Bishop asked tightly. "I don't know, sir. He should be here by now." Another missile got through. The explosion rocked the ship. Sparks flew from a console on the bridge. Paul's voice came over the intercom from engineering. "We can't take much more of this, Captain." Bishop stared at the tactical display. The 8 Crethian ships were closing in, forming a net around them. In a few more minutes, they would be surrounded with no escape. He had gambled everything on Price arriving in time. Had he been wrong? Had he led his crew to their deaths? Then space itself seemed to tear apart. 15 points of light appeared simultaneously in a perfect formation. They were jump signatures, the telltale signs of ships emerging from hyperspace. But these weren't small lights. These were massive, brilliant tears in reality. The Fifth Fleet had arrived. Admiral Kevin Price sat in the command chair of the Washington's Pride, Earth's newest and most powerful carrier. Around him, 14 other warships had jumped in perfect synchronization. His tactical officer was already feeding him data. "All ships report ready status, Admiral. We have a visual on the horizon's edge. They're taking heavy fire from 8 Crethian vessels. All ships, battle formation Delta, move between the horizon's edge and the enemy. Launch fighters." The human fleet moved as one unit, sliding into position with practiced precision. The massive bulk of the Washington's Pride took point, its shields flaring as it absorbed fire meant for the horizon's edge. Smaller, faster destroyers and frigates fanned out on the flanks. From the Washington's Pride's launch bays, dozens of fighters poured into space. Commander Dan Cooper led the first squadron, his wingmen tight behind him. "All fighters, this is Cooper. Weapons free. Target enemy small craft and missile systems. Make them regret shooting at our people." Aboard the horizon's edge, Lisa Grant watched the tactical display in awe. One moment they were about to die. The next, an entire fleet materialized around them, shields up, weapons blazing. "Get us behind the fleet," Bishop ordered. "Paul, damage report." "We took some hits, but nothing critical. We'll be fine, Captain." On his dreadnought, War Master Zekthor stared at his own tactical display in shock. Where had these ships come from? He counted 15 contacts. Large ones, military vessels of a design he didn't recognize. "What are those ships?" he demanded. "Unknown, War Master. They're not in our database. Hail them. Find out who dares interfere." A moment later, a human face appeared on his view screen. The human male looked calm, almost relaxed, but his eyes were hard. "I am Admiral Kevin Price of the United Earth Federation 5th Fleet. You are currently engaged in the illegal occupation and enslavement of the Valorian people. I am ordering you to stand down your weapons, withdraw your forces from Aquinas Prime, and surrender yourself for trial on charges of war crimes." Zekthor felt his mandibles click together in anger. I am War Master Zekthor of the Krethian Empire. This planet is Krethian territory by right of conquest. The Galactic Council recognizes our claim. You have no authority here, human. I don't care what the Council recognizes, Price said coldly. I'm not asking them. I'm telling you. Withdraw or we will remove you by force. Zekthor laughed. It was a harsh, clicking sound. You have 15 ships. I have 30 in this system with 3 dreadnoughts. You cannot win. Leave now, and I will allow you to escape with your lives. Price smiled, but there was no humor in it. I'm going to give you 1 minute to reconsider. After that, we're coming for you. The communication cut off. Zekthor felt rage boiling inside him. How dare this insignificant species threaten him? The Krethian Empire had conquered a dozen worlds. Their military was feared across this sector of space, and these humans, barely into space for a few decades, thought they could challenge him? All ships engage the human fleet. Show them the price of interference. 30 Krethian warships opened fire at once. Space lit up with weapons fire. Missiles, energy beams, and plasma bolts streaked toward the human fleet. What happened next shocked everyone watching, including Veltara and the Valorian resistance on the planet below. The human ships moved, not in the slow, predictable patterns that Galactic Council species used. They moved like dancers, like predators, with a fluid grace that seemed impossible for such large vessels. Their point defense systems opened up, creating walls of fire that intercepted missiles with incredible accuracy. The few weapons that got through hit shields that were surprisingly strong. Human engineers had studied every battle record they could find, learning from everyone else's mistakes. Their shields were layered and redundant, able to absorb tremendous punishment. And then the humans returned fire. Human weapons were different from what the galaxy was used to. They were direct, brutal, and devastatingly accurate. Railguns fired solid projectiles at relativistic speeds. Missile systems used smart warheads that adapted to enemy countermeasures. Energy weapons targeted weak points with surgical precision. A Krethian cruiser exploded, torn apart by a railgun hit to its reactor. Another lost power when a missile took out its main systems. A third tumbled away, its engines destroyed. Dan Cooper's fighter squadron wove through the battle, targeting Krethian point defense systems. Break left, watch the crossfire, he called to his wing. His fighters moved in coordinated pairs, covering each other, overwhelming enemy defenses through teamwork rather than individual heroics. On the destroyer Steel Falcon, Captain Roy Barnes saw an opportunity. One of the Krethian dreadnoughts had rotated to bring its heavy weapons to bear on the Washington's Pride, but that rotation exposed its weaker side armor. Helm, full speed. Take us in close. Weapons, prepare the heavy railgun. Sir, that will put us in their point defense range, his tactical officer warned. I know. Do it anyway. The Steel Falcon accelerated, racing toward the massive dreadnought. Krethian point defense opened up, trying to swat the smaller ship. But Barnes's pilot was skilled, jinking and dodging, making them a difficult target. Now, Barnes ordered. The railgun fired. The solid projectile, moving at a fraction of the speed of light, hit the dreadnought's side armor. The impact was catastrophic. The armor buckled, and the projectile punched through into the ship's interior. Secondary explosions rippled along the dreadnought's flank. It wasn't destroyed, but it was crippled, half its weapons offline and its engines barely functioning. Aboard his flagship, Zekthor watched his fleet fall apart. In less than 10 minutes of combat, he had lost 8 ships destroyed or disabled. The humans fought with a ferocity and skill he had never encountered. They didn't follow predictable tactics. They didn't give his ships time to regroup, and they were winning. War Master, we must withdraw, his tactical officer said. We cannot defeat them. Zekthor's pride screamed at him to fight on. But he was a warrior, not a fool. If he stayed, his entire fleet would be destroyed. All ships break off and retreat to jump distance. The Krethian fleet turned and ran, but Price wasn't going to let them escape easily. The human fleet pursued, continuing to fire. 2 more Krethian ships were disabled before the rest managed to jump away to hyperspace. When the battle ended, the Aquanus system was quiet. Debris from destroyed ships drifted in orbit. But the Krethian occupation was broken. Price opened a channel to the planet. Valorian people, this is Admiral. 3 days after the battle, Marine Commander Nicole Peterson stood on the loading deck of her transport ship, watching her team check their equipment. They were about to make the first landing on Aquanus Prime. She felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Remember, she told her Marines, we're not invaders. We're helpers. These people have been through hell. Be respectful, be kind, and be ready for anything. The Marines nodded. They wore light armor, not combat gear. They carried medical supplies, food, and tools, not heavy weapons. This wasn't a combat mission. It was a rescue operation. Dr. Greg Harrison joined Nicole at the loading ramp. He was a civilian doctor who had volunteered to join the 5th Fleet's Medical Corps. His gray hair and kind eyes made him look like everyone's favorite grandfather. How are the Valorians doing? Nicole asked him. Physically? Many are malnourished. They have injuries from the mines, from the bombings. Some have diseases we'll need to study before we can treat. Emotionally? Greg shook his head. 30 years of trauma doesn't heal overnight. We'll do what we can, Nicole said. The transport ship descended through Aquinas Prime's atmosphere. Through the viewport, Nicole saw a beautiful world. The oceans were deep blue and green, sparkling in the sunlight. But as they flew lower, she began to see the scars. Craters on islands where Krethian weapons had struck. Abandoned mining facilities. The wreckage of destroyed underwater structures visible beneath the clear water. Approaching Coral Haven, the pilot announced. It's the largest Valorian city. Nicole looked down. The city was underwater, but through the clear ocean she could see it. Buildings made of living coral and bioluminescent materials created a stunning display of light and color. Structures spiraled upward from the ocean floor like towers of light. Transportation tubes connected different sections of the city. Schools of native fish swam through wide plazas. It was the most beautiful thing Nicole had ever seen, and the Krethians had tried to destroy it. The transport landed on a floating platform at the ocean surface. Valorian resistance members had built it specifically for this meeting. As Nicole and her team stepped out, she saw figures emerging from the water. Velterra rose from the ocean, water streaming off her translucent blue skin. She wore simple clothes made from woven aquatic plants. Other Valorians emerged behind her, looking nervous and hopeful. Nicole approached slowly, not wanting to scare them. I'm Commander Nicole Peterson of the Earth Federation Marines. This is Dr. Greg Harrison and our medical team. We're here to help. Velterra studied Nicole's face. Then slowly she smiled. It was a tired, fragile smile, but real. Welcome to Aquinas Prime, Commander. Welcome to our home. The two of them shook hands, human and alien, joining in friendship. Over the next few hours, Greg and his medical team began treating injured Valorians. They set up a field hospital on the platform. Valorians came cautiously at first, then in larger numbers as word spread that the humans were truly there to help. Greg worked tirelessly, treating wounds, diagnosing diseases, and comforting the frightened. He had a gift for making people feel safe even when he didn't speak their language. A smile, a gentle touch, and genuine compassion transcended words. Meanwhile, engineering teams from the 5th Fleet, led by Lieutenant Chris Webb, began dismantling Krethian equipment. They shut down surveillance systems, removed weapons platforms, and started clearing the orbital bombardment satellites. Every piece of Krethian technology that came down felt like another chain broken, but not everyone was celebrating. On the 4th day after the battle, a new ship arrived in the Aquinas system. It was sleek and elegant, bearing the symbols of the Galactic Council. The ship transmitted a priority message demanding to speak with whoever was in command. Admiral Price took the call in his ready room. The holographic projector showed him an alien he recognized from the Council database, Ambassador Quilksvan of the Trilorian Combine. The Trilorians were an old species, influential in Council politics. Quilksvan had multiple eye stalks that waved as he spoke, giving him an appearance of constant disapproval. Admiral Price, I presume? Quilksvan's voice was high-pitched and irritated. I am here on behalf of the Galactic Council to address this situation. What situation would that be? Price asked calmly. Don't play games with me, human. You attacked a Council member species, the Krethian Empire. You have occupied one of their territorial holdings. You have violated multiple treaties and agreements that maintain peace in this sector. Price leaned back in his chair. The Krethians were enslaving an entire species. They were committing genocide. We stopped them. The Aquinas system is recognized Krethian territory. The Council validated their claim 30 years ago. Then the Council was wrong. Quilksvan's eye stalks stood straight up in shock. Wrong. The Council determines all territorial disputes. Our decisions are final. Not anymore, Price said quietly. Let me be clear, Ambassador. Earth does not recognize any claim based on conquest and slavery. We don't care what treaties you signed. We don't care what the Council decided. What happened here was evil and we stopped it. You cannot simply ignore galactic law. Watch us, Price stood up. The United Earth Federation is formally declaring the Valorian people free and under our protection. We will help them rebuild. We will help them establish their own government and defenses. And if anyone, including the Crethean Empire, tries to enslave them again, we will stop them. Again. Quilksvin was shaking with anger. The Council will not tolerate this behavior. There will be consequences. Economic sanctions, travel restrictions. The Crethean Empire is demanding compensation for their losses. Then they can bring their demands to Earth's diplomatic corps. But they won't get a single credit from us. As for sanctions, the Council can do whatever it wants. We'll manage. You're making a terrible mistake, Admiral. You're starting something you cannot finish. Price smiled coldly. We're not starting anything, Ambassador. We're ending something. Ending the idea that powerful species can abuse weaker ones while the Council looks away. Ending the idea that stability is more important than justice. If the Council doesn't like that, then maybe the Council needs to change. This conversation is over, Quilksvin said stiffly. I will report your insolence to the full Council. Don't say I didn't warn you. The communication ended abruptly. Price sat back down, feeling tired. He had just made an enemy of the Galactic Council. Earth's politicians would be furious. There would be hearings, investigations, and probably attempts to remove him from command. But when he looked out his viewport at Aquinas Prime, at the Valorian city glowing beneath the waves, he knew he had made the right choice. On the planet, Veltara was holding a meeting with the Valorian Leadership Council. The council chamber was deep underwater, a circular room with walls of living coral that glowed softly. 50 Valorians sat in a circle, the survivors of their government and resistance. The humans say we are free. One of the council members, an elderly female named Silvara, spoke. But what does that mean? We have no military, no defenses. When the humans leave, what stops the Krathians from returning? Veltara understood the fear. Freedom was wonderful, but it felt fragile. The humans have promised to stay until we can defend ourselves. Admiral Price has said they will help us build our own fleet. Can we trust them? Another council member asked. They are aliens. We know nothing of their true intentions. I have met them, Veltara said firmly. I have watched them risk their lives for us. They didn't have to come. They didn't have to fight. But they did because it was right. Yes, we can trust them. Captain Frank Bishop attended the meeting at Veltara's invitation. He listened as the Valorians debated their future. He could see their fear, their uncertainty. They had been prisoners for so long that freedom felt strange and dangerous. Finally, he asked permission to speak. The council agreed. I understand your fear, Bishop said. Earth knows what it's like to be conquered. In our history, my people suffered under slavery. Other people on Earth suffered under different kinds of oppression. We know how hard it is to believe that freedom can last. The Valorians listened intently. But here's what I can tell you. Freedom is worth fighting for. And you won't fight alone. Earth is committed to helping you. Not because we want to control you. Not because we want something from you. But because helping each other is what decent people do. Silvara spoke up. But your Galactic Council is angry with you. We heard about the ambassador's visit. You have made enemies by helping us. Won't your people punish you? Bishop smiled. Maybe, probably, but that's our problem, not yours. You focus on rebuilding your world. Let us worry about the politics. Why? Veltara asked softly. Why would you sacrifice so much for us? Bishop thought about how to answer. Finally, he said, because 30 years ago you sent out a distress call. You begged for help. And everyone ignored you. Everyone except us. We heard you, Veltara. We heard you and we came. That's what humanity does. We listen to the cries for help that others ignore. The room was silent. Then Silvara stood up. Then let it be recorded. The Valorian people formally request admission as a protectorate of the United Earth Federation. We ask for your protection, your guidance, and your friendship, and in return we pledge our loyalty and our aid. 3 weeks after the liberation of Aquinas Prime, Fleetmaster Drakon emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the system with 40 warships. He had planned carefully, studied the battle reports from Zekthor's defeat, and prepared counters to human tactics. But what he found was not what he expected. "Fleetmaster," his sensor officer reported. "I'm reading multiple contacts around Aquinas Prime, not just human ships." "Explain." 23 vessels total. 15 are human, but the other 8 are from different species. I'm identifying Sarian, Valoran, and Hectarian signatures." Drakon stared at his tactical display in confusion. The Sarians were a scientific species known for their advanced technology. The Valorans were traders who avoided conflict. The Hectarians were artists and philosophers. None of them were military powers. What were they doing here? "Hail the human fleet. I want to speak with their commander." Admiral Price appeared on the screen moments later. Behind him, Drakon could see the bridge of a human warship busy with activity. "Fleetmaster Drakon," Price said calmly, "we've been expecting you. You have occupied Krethian territory. You have attacked Krethian forces. I am here to reclaim what is ours and punish your aggression." "Aquinas Prime is not yours," Price replied. "It belongs to the Valorians, and they have asked for our protection. We're giving it. You cannot defeat my fleet. I have 40 ships, and we have allies." Price gestured off-screen. "Let me introduce you to some of them." The screen split. Beside Price's image appeared 3 other faces. A Sarian with large compound eyes and delicate antennae, a Valoran with fur and intelligent eyes, a Hectarian with iridescent scales and a calm expression. The Sarian spoke first. "I am Science Director Zendal of the Sarian Collective. We have reviewed the humans' actions here. They acted with honor and courage. We support them," the Valoran added. "I am Trade Captain Vorn of the Valoran Guild. The humans have shown us that profit is not more important than justice. We stand with them." The Hectarian's voice was soft but firm. "I am Philosopher Ralden of the Hectarian Assembly. For too long we have watched injustice and done nothing. The humans have reminded us of our duty to the oppressed. We will not abandon that duty again." Drakon felt a chill run through his body. This was not supposed to happen. The Council species never united against established powers. They talked, debated, and eventually did nothing. But here they were, standing with these upstart humans. "You are making a mistake," Drakon said. "The Krethian Empire will not forget this." "Neither will we," Price said. "You have 2 choices. Turn around and leave, or we'll force you to leave. Choose quickly." Drakon had come for revenge, but he was not Zekthor. He understood tactics and strategy. Against the human fleet alone, he might have risked battle. But against humans plus 3 other species, all with advanced technology, the odds were poor. And there was something else. His intelligence officers had been studying human combat records. They had seen how humans fought, aggressively, adaptively, and without fear. They had also seen the battle at Aquinas Prime. The humans had defeated a larger force through superior tactics and skill. Drakon was a warrior, not a fool. He knew a losing battle when he saw one. "This is not over," Drakon said finally. "We will bring this matter before the Galactic Council." "You do that," Price replied. "We'll be right here protecting people who need us." The Krethian fleet turned and jumped away. No shots were fired. The revenge attack had ended before it began. On the bridge of the Washington's Pride, Price let out a breath he didn't realize he had been holding. His crew cheered. They had won without fighting, which was the best kind of victory. Bishop, who had been standing nearby, smiled. "They backed down. They actually backed down. They were smart," Price said. Drakon knew he couldn't win. Not against all of us together. "This is bigger than one planet now, isn't it?" Bishop asked. "Yes, much bigger." 2 weeks later, Admiral Helen Carter arrived at Aquinas Prime aboard the diplomatic vessel Endeavour. She brought with her Ambassador Lynn Cooper and a team of Earth's best diplomats and negotiators. Lynn Cooper was a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a kind smile. She had negotiated peace treaties, trade agreements, and defense pacts all across Earth. Now she would try to do the same in space. A meeting was arranged on a neutral station in orbit. Representatives from multiple species attended. The Galactic Council sent delegates, though they made it clear they were not happy about it. The Valorians sent Veltara and their leadership council. The humans, Sarians, Valorans, and Hectarians all sent representatives. The meeting chamber was large and designed to accommodate many different species. Some delegates sat in chairs. Some floated in tanks of water. Some perched on specially designed stands. Ambassador Quilksvan of the Galactic Council opened the meeting with a long speech about tradition, order, and the importance of following established protocols. His eye stalks waved dramatically as he spoke. When he finally finished, Lynn Cooper stood up to speak. Thank you, Ambassador Quilksvin, for that comprehensive overview of Council policy. Now let me tell you about a new policy. We're calling it the Freedom Compact. She activated a holographic display that showed the document. The Freedom Compact is a treaty that establishes basic rights for all sentient species. The right to self-determination, the right to be free from slavery and genocide, the right to ask for help when oppressed, and the right to receive that help. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some delegates looked interested. Others looked nervous. The Creathian delegate stood up, his mandibles clicking angrily. This is outrageous. You cannot simply rewrite galactic law. We're not rewriting it, Lynn said calmly. We're creating something new, something better. Any species can sign the Freedom Compact. When you do, you agree to uphold these rights. You agree to help protect species who cannot protect themselves, and you gain the protection and support of all other signatories. Science Director Zendal stood. The Sarian Collective will sign. Trade Captain Vorn stood. The Velorn Guild will sign. Philosopher Ral then stood. The Hectarian Assembly will sign. Veltara stood, her voice strong and clear. The Valorian people will sign. One by one, representatives from 7 other species stood and pledged to sign the compact. They were not all the major powers. Some were small civilizations, some were new to space, some were species that had been oppressed in the past. But together, they represented a significant portion of the galaxy. The Galactic Council delegates sat in stunned silence. Their old order was crumbling. A new alliance was forming, built not on tradition and power, but on principles of justice and mutual protection. Quilksvin sputtered. The Council will not recognize this rebellion. You don't have to, Lynn said. We're not asking for permission. We're telling you that things are changing. The galaxy has a choice now. Join us in building something better, or stay in your council and watch as more and more species choose freedom over your outdated system. The meeting ended with the Freedom Compact being formally signed by its founding members. It was a historic moment, the beginning of something new. Months passed. Aquinas Prime began to heal. Human engineers and Sarian scientists worked with Valorian workers to rebuild cities damaged by the occupation. New schools opened. The mines were closed or converted to safe, voluntary operations. The orbital weapons platforms were dismantled completely. Dr. Greg Harrison established a hospital in Coral Haven, training Valorian doctors in human and Sarian medical techniques. Children who had known only occupation began to play again, their laughter echoing through the underwater city. Captain Frank Bishop became an unofficial ambassador to the Valorian people. He met regularly with their leadership council, offering advice but never orders. He taught them about defense, about diplomacy, about building a society that could stand on its own. One evening, Veltara invited Bishop to walk with her through the restored coral gardens. They moved through the underwater paths surrounded by beautiful glowing coral and schools of colorful fish. It's hard to believe sometimes, Veltara said, that we're truly free. I keep expecting to wake up and find it was all a dream. It's real, Bishop assured her, and it's going to stay real. Your people are learning fast. In a few years, you'll have your own fleet, your own defenses. You won't need us anymore. We'll always need you, Veltara said softly, not for protection, but as friends, as the people who heard us when no one else would. Bishop smiled. We'll always be here for you. That's a promise. Veltara stopped walking and turned to face him. Why did you do it, really? Admiral Price said it was because you heard our call. But it's more than that, isn't it? You risked everything. Your career, your life, your ship. Why? Bishop looked up through the water, toward the surface, toward the stars beyond. Because a long time ago, someone asked me what I would want if I was the one calling for help. I realized I would want someone brave enough to come, someone who cared more about doing what's right than about being safe. And I decided that if I ever heard someone calling, I would be that person. You are that person, Veltara said. You and all your crew. You're heroes to my people. We're just people who chose to help. That's all. Anyone could have done it, but only you did. Bishop didn't have an answer for that, so they walked in comfortable.